You feel it again, don't you? That burning desire, that ache in your chest, that craving that grips your soul when no one's watching. Lust. It wraps around you like chains, whispers promises of pleasure, then leaves you empty. You've prayed about it, cried over it, maybe even given up trying to fight it. But what if I told you that your lust, yes, your lust, can become your greatest weapon? What if the very thing that's been tearing you down is the key to your spiritual rise? Most people run from lust. Others are devoured by it. But King Solomon, the wisest man to ever walk this earth, learned something almost no one talks about. He didn't just fall because of lust. He also understood how it works. And buried deep within his writings, there's a secret, a method, a way to transform your lust into power. Not by suppressing it, not by pretending it's not there, but by redirecting it, channeling it into something so powerful, it'll make the devil himself tremble. And yes, it's in the Bible. Solomon wrote in Proverbs 4:23, "Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." He didn't say kill your heart. He didn't say erase desire. He said, guard it, because desire isn't evil, it's a gift. But when left unguarded, it becomes a curse. That craving you feel, it's not just about sex. It's a hunger for connection, intimacy, power, legacy. The enemy just wants you to think it's only about your body, but it's always been about your soul. Here's what no one tells you. Lust is a distortion of something sacred. It's a misfired longing for something eternal. The pleasure you chase? That's a shadow of the real joy God designed for you. And Solomon knew that. But he also knew that the same passion that can destroy a man is the passion that can make him great. You just have to learn how to aim it. Now listen, because this next part will shift something deep in your spirit. Have you ever wondered why temptation always comes strongest when you're about to step into something greater? It's not coincidence. It's warfare. The enemy doesn't tempt the stagnant. He tempts the rising. Your struggle with lust isn't proof that you're weak. It's proof that you're dangerous. And Satan's terrified you might realize that. Solomon's method begins with this. Reveal the lie behind the fantasy. Every lustful thought carries a hidden message. You need this to feel alive. You'll never be free. It's just who you are. But Proverbs 14:12 destroys that illusion. There is a way that appears to be right, but in the end, it leads to death. Lust always looks right in the moment, but it leads you into slow decay. The method is not to shame yourself, but to shine light on the lie. Here's where the power starts building. When you feel lust rise, don't just resist it, study it. Ask yourself, what am I really craving right now? Is it intimacy, power, escape, acceptance? Solomon says in Proverbs 25, the purposes of a person's heart are deep waters, but one who has insight draws them out. That means your urges carry deeper messages. And if you have the courage to listen, you'll find what your soul's truly crying out for. You don't need to kill your desire. You need to lead it. This is where everything changes. Your desire isn't your enemy. It's your compass. But a compass in the wrong hands leads to destruction. You need to put it back in God's hands. Every time you feel lust's pull, that's your signal to shift. Shift your energy, your focus, your passion toward purpose, toward your calling. Proverbs 16:3 says, commit your works to the Lord and your thoughts will be established. You don't conquer lust by trying harder. You conquer it by rerouting it towards something greater. Now here's where it gets real. Imagine taking that intense energy, the same one that's led you into Sinand, using it to build something eternal. Your discipline, your vision, your future. Every urge becomes fuel. Every temptation becomes training. Proverbs 25:28 says, like a city whose walls are broken through is a person who lacks self-control. And lust is the battering ram. But if you rebuild those walls, if you strengthen your inner city, then lust becomes powerless. Not because it disappears, but because you've turned it into fire for your purpose. Let me ask you something. What would your life look like if every time you felt tempted, you treated it like a signal instead of a sin? What if you saw it as a reminder that greatness is calling your name? Because that's what it is. You weren't made to be ruled by desire. You were made to master it. That's what separates kings from slaves. And Solomon, despite all his failures, left behind a map. But few ever read it. You're probably wondering now, what do I do in the moment of temptation? When the image pops up, when the urge hits hard, when your thoughts spiral, Here's Solomon's secret move. Proverbs 7 paints a picture of a young man being seduced. It's graphic, emotional, raw, but in verse 25, he breaks the spell, do not let your heart turn to her ways or stray into her paths. The key is direction. Temptation only has power if you follow it. The moment you feel that pull, turn. Physically, mentally, spiritually change direction. Redirect that energy into action. Move, pray, create, speak, run. Lust thrives in stillness, in silence, in secrecy. Break that pattern. Do the opposite. Turn temptation into a trigger for purpose. Every time the enemy tries to pull you down, let it remind you of what you're building up. The moment you stop feeding it in the dark and start fighting it in the light, it loses its grip. Now here's something deeper. Lust doesn't just feed on pleasure, it feeds on isolation. The more you hide it, the stronger it gets. Solomon fell because he surrounded himself with the wrong voices. Don't make the same mistake. Build a circle of truth around you. People who call out your purpose. Environments that remind you who you are. Proverbs 13:20 says, walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm. If you stay in the shadows, you'll rot in silence. But if you step into the light, you'll start to rise. And let me be clear, this isn't about perfection. You will fall. But now, every fall is feedback. Every stumble becomes a step forward. Because you're not trying to erase lust, you're harnessing it, rewiring it, training your spirit to rule over your flesh. You're turning temptation into transformation. And every time you win that inner battle, you grow stronger, more focused, more dangerous to the enemy. So here's the ultimate challenge. The next time lust comes knocking, don't panic. Smile. Because now you know what it really is. A test, a mirror, a message, a fire, and you're not a victim anymore. You're a warrior. When your heart starts racing, when your thoughts start drifting, when the image flashes in your mind, remember Solomon's wisdom. Guard your heart, redirect your focus, and let that energy fuel your rise. This is how you turn lust into power. Not by pretending it's not there, but by staring it in the face and saying, you no longer control me. I will use you. This is how you become dangerous. This is how you become unstoppable. This is how you become a man after God's own heart, not because you never fall, but because you never stop rising. And the secret? It was never really about lust. It was always about what you do with it. Now, you might be asking yourself, if this works, why don't more people talk about it? That's the next mystery. Why the church avoids it? Why preachers skip over it? Why Christians silently suffer with it? And what Solomon really wanted us to understand about sacred desire, broken sexuality, and holy fire. But we'll uncover that truth in the next one.